I am committed to certain seriousness. I am committed to certain seriousness in an absurd task. I am committed to the seriousness of an absurd task that emerges from a visceral question sustained with others. Because it does not necessarily make sense at the beginning, remember it is an absurd task, trust, commitment, passion, and even soberness are crucial. At some point, this becomes an entirely new thing.
Proudly, I jumped, literally, into a definite failure. I failed, my students did, and we all held each other from also literally failing too hard. This moment of failing has been one of my most successful moments of art teaching. Failing suddenly becomes something else. It becomes art and teaching by playing with the moment in which a group emerges as such. Groupness and our perceived interdependence becomes something we can work with as an art material.
On the first day of the semester, my students entered the classroom and found their preferred space, back corner, front center, or whatever seat is open when they showed up late. Then, they manifested their expectations about the course on methods for art teaching, not making any art.
Cold rain pours over Bogota so intensely that creeks begin to appear at our university's campus. Yet we feel warm and active. With fear and excitement, students stare at a 3-meter-tall wall in front of us. Leaning out through its rectangular opening is a parkour teacher looking down toward us. I invited him to a class I teach called Practices of Space and Place to expand our body's movement possibilities in the city.
In the next class, we walked to a room where I explained we would practice collaborative compositions. Students got into the room seeking their preferred back corner, front center, or whatever seat is open, but the room was empty. Confused, some visibly uncomfortable, students looked at me expectantly as we waited for everybody to arrive. I asked, what if we consider our body, movements, and space as part of the materials and forms of the art that we teach and make?
The parkour teacher extends his arm, inviting us to jump towards the wall and push ourselves up like spiders. A nervous laugh makes our bodies shake. Some of my students immediately say, I can't. Others hesitate silently, while I secretly scream to myself, it is impossible to jump over that wall. The first intrepid person moves backward, gathers momentum, and jumps directly to the wall.
This empty room holds our collaborative compositions. We will mark this space and make our piece only by walking, stopping, standing, moving faster, changing directions, or leaving. I finished explaining, but nobody moved. I showed that I literally meant walking through the room in a line, zigzags, or circles. Still no movement. Do you want to try it with me? I asked, and then confessed, I am not really sure what this is, but I have learned so much about how these walks help to experiment with groups and spaces. I have felt it. Reluctantly at first, they began walking.
As expected, like in any parkour experience, he gets stuck halfway. In a matter of seconds, the whole group runs to assist him, pushing his body up and encouraging him to find the strength to climb. He turns to us from the top of the wall, proud of his achievement, which we feel like ours. Suddenly, the students look at me with expectation, inviting me to give it a try. I couldn't help thinking about how ridiculous I'm going to look. Anxious, I regret for a second putting myself in such a vulnerable situation.
After some time, students generously engage with tasks like never leaving anybody alone in a corner, perceiving changes in pace and following such shifts as a cue, and initiating a composition by entering a space as a first mark and building on it. Soon, their marks and compositions became more complex, and beyond walking and standing, they played with the shapes and positions that emerged as they moved together.
Without time to overthink, I jump, also getting stuck halfway. Immediately, I feel the group's hands holding my body, supporting my legs, and helping me to continue. Thanks to everyone's strength, I managed to climb the wall. Everything happens in a slow motion, accurately and gracefully, but with a lot of determination and solid attunement. Life races taller than parkour skills. Its materials, time, fear, tiredness, agitation, and others root us to the present, to the group.
What is possible when groupness is our main art material? How to make tangible, sculpturable, audible, danceable, foldable, and drawable the process in which a group emerges as such? Why is this relevant to talk about conceptual art and teaching?
Conceptual art has broadened the materials, forms, and spaces where art and art teaching are possible. Standing on this expanded art field, we understand art materials as whatever help us to investigate questions that guide creative processes. In our practice, we claim crudeness, our ways of being together, as our main question and art material. We want to explore what such crudeness can become: an amateur parkour practice in a visual art class, an absurd walking tasks to interrogate the limits of teaching art, are resources to explore this intricate material creatively and relationally. Conceptualism moved art away from objects and techniques alone to questions supported by objects and different skills. In our case, art moved towards visceral questions enacted through bodies in shared movement.
What we teach then is not limited to how to make a thing. Rather, we inquire with our students, what can we make out of the fact of being with each other? To do this, we propose a creative practice with an ethical horizon, which assumes the responsibility and care of such interdependence, but relinquishes the ambition of uniformity. Studying art through the question of what is possible out of being together refers to multiple realms. Among the many directions in which this study can take us, some relevant questions that we have explored with our students and that we recounted above are:
Cata, how to perceive when a group is committed to an absurd task? Why is it visceral?
When I first invited students to practice this initially absurd task, we feel in our bodies something like that awkward moment of silence when nobody wants to jump into a conversation during a class or begin dancing at a party. But these tasks, for me, are really provocations to practice attunement and requiring participants to be fully invested as embodied, interdependent beings. Once the first brave person literally takes a step, you can feel a different energy blooming. You can perceive everybody ensuring that no invitations and answer and that no makes all the decisions. The absurd task then activates a sense of visceral responsibility and solidarity. Nata, how does failing to jump become an effective material of teaching and of art?
Suddenly failing to jump demanded us to move from our positions and for granted our being in relation. Then it became an artistic and pedagogical action. Failing to jump in front of the group revealed that we were all responsible, that nobody fails too hard. It emerged as a creative and learning experience in the second in which it took us away from our comfort place and towards the others. When we acknowledged our shared vulnerability and our tiny or gigantic fears, we extended a strong sense of solidarity among us. This expanded solidarity works as a connective tissue, as a material that embraces our differences and collective needs. Solidarity creates a new space, one of us being with and for each other. Our question is interdependence. Our main materials are groups and their relationships. We, too, are part of our own art material.
Because of the ethics of pedagogy, as we play with malleability of groups and make them our material, we ourselves become unequivocally immersed in it. As artist teachers are also becoming malleable to the forms and dynamics of the groups we work with. Here, we write as a duet, trusting the potential of that malleability. We believe that exploring groupness always needs to be enacted with others. We have the other's voice and body as a counterweight, creative and generative tension that reminds us that we are not alone in our desires.
Working with, thinking with, and moving with challenges our potential one-sided view and rehearses our question of interdependence as a creative practice. We decided to commit to the openness, vulnerability, and transformation that emerge when at least two bodies enter into contact, and to work with the textures, rhythms, tensions, and contrasts produced by such encounters. We rely
on each other and our students to commit to the visceral question of what is possible with ourselves
as we
explore what is possible
with
our groupness.